This is your WCIA 3 forecast first, sponsored by CIBM Bank.
And good morning, 6 a.m. Meteorologist Adam Sherwinski here looking at Springfield. Not much activity there at the Capitol building right now. It's fairly quiet across the region. Temperatures staying in the 40s here in Champaign, so off to a cool start across the region for today. So that's the good news. We're quiet, we're cool here across the entire region. Not a bad day overall in central Illinois. We'll start to see a change in the atmosphere pretty soon. We'll go from sunshine and 70s back to chances of showers and thunderstorms by the time we get into this weekend, just in time for the Illini game. More details coming up in just a bit, but first, the 6 o'clock hour of the morning show starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is The Morning Show on WCIA 3 News.
That would be the only way that we would get notified is if somebody physically came to the station.
Well, for their department, it felt like a step back in time for 9 hours in one county when a car crash knocked out cell service, and that meant you could not call if there was an emergency. We are so glad you joined us this morning. I'm Matthew White.
And I'm Karina Rubio. Iroquois County's 911 dispatch director says lines are working as normal now, but that wasn't the case overnight. The Wcia Fire Department says a car hit optic fiber cables on Route 1 near Papineau, causing the problem. WCIA 3's Amanda Brennan explains what happened.
It went as far as our most northern town, Papineau. It went down at least down towards Cissna Park, which is down towards the southern portion of our county, and as far westwards as Anarga and Gilman.
It's hard to imagine a world without cell service in today's day and age, but for 9 hours, many people with both cell phones and some landlines in Iroquois County were in a dead zone. The biggest issue, dialing 911.
Word of mouth, that's the only way that we could get anybody to answer calls.
Wcia Fire Department says a car crash near Papineau knocked out the fiber optic cables, and that's where the problem started. Eric Raymond is the dispatch director for the county. He says everyone kept getting the same message. You'll
hear that tone where it's a fast busy, or you may get a carrier message that'll say you cannot complete the number that you're dialing. And
Nick Peters with Watsika's fire department says people with AT&T and Verizon were the most affected. He says if anyone in their community had an emergency during that time, they had to physically find a police officer or go to the fire station.
We'll all have our radios and we'll be able to still communicate via our mobile radios and portable radios that we carry.
But Raymond says even with zero service, some could call using Wi-Fi, or most cell phone companies will let you use other providers. There was also a backup plan in place with Kankakee County.
They will then begin receiving our 911 calls. They will field the information or pass it back to us because we will use alternative means to make sure that the 911 call is still sourced, gets you the help you need.
Raymond says his dispatch center receives about 1,000 emergency 911 calls a month. During the blackout, he says they were unable to track how many people tried calling. In Wcia, things were safe.
Luckily, nothing happened. All the trick-or-treating went fine, and nobody had any situation that required our services.
Now, Raymond says if it happens again, to keep calling. First responders are looking at backup plans, and dispatchers are hoping to include a texting feature soon as well.
It's 6:03 right now, and we're starting to see satellite and radar showing not much activity, a little bit more cloud cover there towards I-70. Current temperatures at 41 in Peru, 44 in Champaign, and 44 there in Springfield. Winds from the south and east, not very strong, but enough to whip enough of some of that cloud cover out of here, or I should say fog around the area out of here. Otherwise, the future track showing that we've got mostly clear conditions here across the region. Even into tonight, going into early tomorrow, we'll start to see cloud cover come back, though, just in time for Friday. Winds will also pick up as well. It's ahead of our next storm system. That storm system pretty potent, too, dynamically. The upper levels of the atmosphere looking very good for wind shear, both directional and speed, but at the surface, not a lot of instability and not a huge amount of moisture either. Just enough to make some thunderstorms happen here. So we'll see showers, thunderstorms, and windy conditions there as the system starts to move in. Early Saturday morning through the Illini game. By 3 o'clock, though, that's when we start seeing things start to wrap up. So kickoff a little messy, but by the end of the day, we'll start seeing clearer conditions, and Sunday looking gorgeous. Back to you guys.
All right, Adam, thank you. And new for you this morning, Crews responded to a fire at an Urbana apartment complex this morning. It happened around 1:30 at One North Apartments. When firefighters got there, they saw smoke coming from a maintenance building. Crews were able to put it out quickly. No one was hurt. The cause is still under investigation. Turning to a news update for you, we now know the names of the 2 people who died after a crash in Sangamon County. This happened over the weekend on I-55 near Divernon. 66-year-old Stephen Hermanson from Lebanon was brought to the hospital where he later died. 29-year-old Nathan Tennyson from Etterick, Wisconsin was pronounced dead at the scene.
And so now as we turn to another follow-up for you, a U of I student was robbed last month, and university police say that a 16-year-old threatened that student, eventually taking their money, and then he was arrested on Sunday. The robbery itself happened on 5th and Green Street. The teenager pushed the student and demanded the money, and then the student followed him to an ATM about a block away, which is where they withdrew cash. But because the teenager is a minor, no further details have been released to us. Well, we've also learned a construction worker was hit by a car in Urbana Tuesday, and so a city official is asking drivers at home to pay attention, especially to traffic signs.
This happened on Ray Street near the intersection of Windsor Road. Police say someone drove through wet concrete during the afternoon, clipping one of the workers and then took off. The Public Works Director says it's not the first time drivers have ignored signs since construction started about a week ago. It is the most serious, but he doesn't believe the worker was badly hurt. He guesses people are being impatient, leading to hit and runs.
We had people that were just not complying with this, essentially, creating a dangerous situation for people that we were made aware of, but between our engineering staff and the contractors, that we decided we think the best thing to do at this point is just to pivot to closing off the entirety of that section.
Ray Street will be closed to traffic during work hours between Windsor Road and George Huff Drive. He recommends drivers take Vine Street until the project is finished.
Well, turning now to Michael Madigan, the former Illinois Speaker of the House. He pleaded not guilty to the newest charge added to his case, and this arraignment focused on the newest conspiracy charge Madigan is facing. He is accused of taking money from AT&T Illinois and, in exchange, pushed through legislation benefiting the company. Federal prosecutors added that charge last month after the company admitted to paying Madigan, and then they agreed to pay a $23 million fine. House Republican leader Jim Durkin used this arraignment to keep arguing as he wants more ethics reform in the State House.
I will just say that it's time to go back and revisit that terrible ethics reform bill that was a sham, that was introduced and was passed last year. And let's get to the simple issue. Let's get legislators out of the business of lobbying.
Now, Madigan's longtime confidant, Michael McLean, is also charged with conspiracy following the revelations around AT&T, but McLean also pleaded not guilty. Well, still to come on the morning show, for the first time in history, Illinois is ranked in the college playoff poll.
That's right. We'll have more about that coming up in your morning sports shorts right after the quick break.